Hello, this is Mark from My Keys to Music. Thanks for joining me on this video. Today we're going to talk about the Nord Electro 6 and its ability or lack of ability to produce song lists or set lists. Now, I don't necessarily want to get into a debate as to why this feature was or wasn't included or how it's implemented or what choices we have. My job here is just to show you what you can do with what they give you. They give you a basic program list, which is essentially a list of programs. They're organized in banks and numbers. And in this video, we're going to take a look at maybe the best way to approach how you can create your own set list. If you use the Nord Sound Manager, it's really quite simple. If you're using just the Nord keyboard, it becomes a little bit more cumbersome and tedious, but not impossible. This particular video is going to focus on the fact that we're going to be using the Nord Sound Manager for all of the organization here. And so let's get started. Now, before starting this lesson, you want to make sure that you download the latest version of the operating system. So go to nordkeyboards.com, click on Downloads, and make sure you locate the Nord Electro 6 and download the latest operating system, which is either Mac or Windows, depending on the computer you have. And then connect your Nord Electro 6 and get it updated to the latest OS. You're going to need to do that because we're going to use the latest version of the Nord Sound Manager and they work together. If you've never updated the OS on your Nord Electro 6 before, or any Nord for that matter, you can click on the link above and I'll direct you to a video that shows you how to update the OS. It may not be for the Nord Electro 6, but it'll be the same idea and it walks you through at a little slower pace. Then click on the software link here and locate and download the Nord Sound Manager. So I'll click on this. And this is another application that you'll download, and it will allow you to organize your set list. And I think this is the easiest way to do it by far, using the Nord Sound Manager versus the keyboard itself. And if you are a Nord owner, you are likely to have already updated your OS, and you have likely been in a position where you've switched your pianos or downloaded some samples and things like that. So I assume you already have a computer and can do all this on the computer. So that's where this particular video is oriented. So click on the Nord Sound Manager and get that all going. Now, once you have that up and running, it'll look something like this. It'll show up here as its default view. Now, you'll note that you don't see anything called set list. You note that you have no such thing as song mode, and some of the other keyboards like the Nord Stage 3 and even the Nord Electro 5 had those options where they were separate locations where you could put all of this, all these programs and organize them separately from the main program list. On the Nord Electro 6, they don't have that feature. I don't know if it's for the better or for the worse. Most people seem to think that it's a takeaway. Some people think that it's actually easier now because you just deal with the programs and you don't have a whole another separate place to go just for your set list. But like I said, I won't get into that debate. I'll let you guys get into that debate. I'm just here to help you get this going for what we do have. So click on your program button up here. And this gets you to the list of programs. Now, before I get into organizing these, I want to show you a little bit of how this works. They're located and organized in a series of banks, and the banks are lettered A through Z. Now, you'll see here that I only see through P because when I don't have my organize button, it only shows me the programs that exist. It doesn't show me the empty slots. If you want to see the empty slots and organize this, you have to click on the organize button. Now you see all the empty slots. So these are all available for you here to manipulate, play with, move around, and rename. And that's where we're going to create our set list, in these empty areas. Again, back to how these are organized. They're organized in numbering systems 11 through 14. In other words, we only have 4 numbers to work with. 1, 2, 3, and 4. There are no zeros. There's no 5 through 9. Why? Because the Nord Electro 6 has 4 buttons, and you can't have a 9 when you only have 4 buttons. You only have 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, when these are collected together as a group, 11, 12, 13, 14, you'll notice on your Nord Electro, going left to right, that correlates with 11, 12, 13, 14. This as a collective is a page. It's called a page. So you can move up and down by pages, and that's how all this is organized. So if you add all this up, you'll quickly see that you have roughly 175 empty locations where you can put a program. Now, if you have a simplified gig situation where you really only switch from one program to another song by song. In other words, when a new song comes up, let's say the song is called Peace. On that song, you only have one program like piano. then your life is going to be easier. You can actually dedicate one location for one song, and you can just go down the list and create your set list, location by location, program by program, and kind of ignore the banks and the numbers for the most part. Just use the names. Just know that you're going to start, let's say, on Q, and your set list is going to be built in the queues. And there's your set list, piece of cake. Now, if you're playing a little bit more sophisticated of a gig and you're wearing more hats as a keyboard player, you may find that each song requires different parts. There may be an intro, there may be a chorus, a verse, a bridge, a solo portion, or an exit. All of that is a little bit more sophisticated. So you may need up to, let's say, 4 parts per song. And if that's the case, if you're that type of musician playing those types of gigs, you'll want to allocate a page for each song. And a page, again, we learned, is really a collective of 4. 11, 12, 13, and 14 is a single page. Then 21 through 24 is another page. Then 31 through 34 is another page. They call them pages because as you move up and down using the page button on your Nord Electro 6, you'll go from song to song. And each song will have up to 4 parts. That gives you a lot of flexibility for a sophisticated gig. So how you organize that is up to you. I'm going to show you as if you are playing a sophisticated gig and you do have that situation where you want to have song parts for every song, so that you have the option to do verse, bridge, chorus, intro, solo, for example. All right. With that in mind, let's do a couple more setup things here, and then we'll actually put in an actual set list. So click on Dual View. Dual View allows you to fixate your set list down here. We'll just locate the blank area over here, and we'll assume that our set list will begin on bank Q, and then our first song is going to occupy bank Q 11 through 14. That's going to be our first song. So let's bring up a set list here and begin to construct this. I happen to have here an actual set list, or at least a listing of an actual set list from I assume the Hollywood Bowl on May 22nd, 2014, Billy Joel. Here's an actual set list. So let's just mimic this set list so that we can all prove to each other that this could work. So now bank 11, I want Miami. All right, so I can't create a program out of thin air on the Nord Sound Manager. I need to start somewhere. So on the left side here on my screen, I'm going to say that the Miami 2017, it actually starts with a piano part. So let's go ahead and grab the Royal Grand 3D and put that as a beginning program to use for bank Q11. And to do that, now I could simply drag this over here like this, but what happens is it moves it instead of copying it, and you may not be comfortable, in a sense, ruining your original program list from the factory. A lot of you want to keep that intact, but then just make your own programs down at the bottom of the list for your own set list. So if you're that type of person, I'll just undo that. I guess I can undo it, so let me just drag it back. And then in this case, I can duplicate it, so I can right-click and duplicate. I can also choose duplicate from the edit menu at the top. And duplicate happens to be Command P for those who are quick key savvy, the crafty people with the keyboards. What I like to do actually is hold the Option key on my Macintosh and drag, and notice the little plus icon here. That is going to copy it as I drag it over. And now I have my original Royal Grand 3D untouched, and then this is my Royal Grand 3D 2. It appends a 2 there because on this list you can't have a program with the same name. It just can't happen. It's invalid if you do. So I will right-click and rename it. Now what I'd like to do is prefix each song with the name. So in this case, I'll call it Miami. And we don't need the 2017. We'll know on the gig that it's the Miami song. But then I'll put piano here, or let's just call it Grand. And that is the beginning now of my set list. I know the name of the song, and I know the name of the patch. Let me extrapolate this a little bit more. Now let's say there's a string part somewhere in the middle of this song. Let's just pretend. It may not actually be in the Miami 2017 song, but let's just pretend and use your imagination here with me if you would, please. I'm going to, let's just say, Royal Strings. So I'm going to hold the Option key again on Royal Strings, and we'll put that on Bank Q slot 12 and rename that to Miami. And we'll call it Strings. We'll keep it that way. I can even recategorize it if I'd like to. Probably should for good measure. but not necessary, I suppose. So now, as you look at this, you can say, oh, this whole page is going to be named Miami. That's the Miami song, Miami 2017. Now let's just say there was a Farfisa. I mean, now I'm really stretching it at the end of this song and rename that. And you'll get the hang of this here. You're already seeing a pattern develop. And that's organ category. So now I've got my first song with 3 parts. Now let's take my second song, which is My Life, and let's just say I'm going to start with, let's start with that Royal Grand 3D again and get that. Now this time I'm not going to go to slot 14 because that's already reserved for the Miami song. I'm going to go right to slot 21, which is the beginning of my next page, and I'll rename that to My Life. And now we have the beginning of My Life. Now, I didn't name that anything. Now maybe this song only has a piano throughout. So be it. Let's just leave it My Life. We know it's a piano. We could put in piano if we want. We can rename it and just put piano. I don't think we can put parentheses. We can put a dash. So that might be a neat way to separate the song from the patch name. So let's do that. I really like that. Now keep in mind, you have a limited amount of characters, so you can't get verbose on this. You have to kind of be conservative with your naming. But you know, if you've played this gig before and you understand the set list, you won't need much to cue you into what song you're playing and what it is. All right, so this is great. So let's do one more song, and then I'll show you what this looks like on the actual Nord Electro 6 so you can kind of get an idea. We'll do Summer Highland Falls, and that's a long name. Let's grab the Royal Grand 3D, and let me just duplicate this so you see what that's like. I'll duplicate this, and it's going to put it down here wherever it feels like, but it'll highlight it. So then once it's duplicated, we can drag it over here. So this is going to start in the 31 section right here. And we'll rename this to the right song name. This is going to be Summer. I don't think we need anything more than that. And we'll just do piano like that. And let's just say that this one ends with, let's say, a B3 solo. So I'll duplicate that, see what happens there. Okay, that one went down here. That's funny. It went down to, I guess, the next available bank. So I'll grab that and put that over here to number 32, bank Q, rename that to Summer with a dash, and then this is organ, or let's just say B3. We'll know what that is. As a musician, you'll know all this stuff with the... So you can see here now I'm getting fairly organized. Now, on the screen here, it looks a bit messy. Let's go look at it on the Nord Electro 6. So here I am on the Nord Electro 6. My default program happens to be the Royal Grand 3D. Now, if you recall, we're in the cues. So let's find out how we're going to navigate to the cues. I can use this and zoom over that way. I can also use the page button and go page by page, but that's going to take a while. Now I could click and hold it, but that's also going to take a while. I can hold the shift button and the page up button and hold it, and watch how fast I'm going to get to those cues. There it is. I'm at the cues. That was pretty cool. So the page button's up or down, and then the shift button in page flips a whole letter, letter by letter, letter by letter, or page by page. So we're in the cues, so let's just go here to the cues. And there she is, Miami with the grand. Now watch this. I can click this button, it gets me to the Miami strings. I can click this button, it gets me to the Miami Farfisa. And then this one's empty. So now I have the beginning of a set list, very well organized and very segmented. How do I get to the next song? I can push the page up button and get right to my next song. My Life. Up, down, up, down. Beautiful. Now that's My Life with the piano. Remember, there was nothing else other than the piano on My Life. And then the third song in the set list, just one click of the page button, I've got Summer piano, Summer B3, Summer empty, empty. Okay, now I can use this to go up and down a song. What I find on a gig, this particular knob, even though it's got sort of a sticky approach to it, I don't necessarily do well with the actual knob to switch from program to program. In the heat of a gig, when things are moving fast and you're all excited and jumping around and everything else, I find it much easier to use these buttons to go up and down, much like the set list or song mode is on the other Nord keyboards. So this, I think, is the best approach that I've come up with so far. You can share with me some of your own approaches. Okay, also note that you can choose this list value knob here and go into set list mode this way too. So here's my 3 songs, Q, Q, and Q. Miami, My Life, and Summer. And if you've named them that, and I really like the hyphen, I think that's powerful. I think that's a great way to potentially have a set list really on the fly. And in fact, the more I'm getting used to this, it's really pretty effective overall. Okay, so now that you have the basic structure of the set list created, that still doesn't determine how the sounds are going to sound, because we grabbed programs that pre-existed from the factory, and they may or may not be what we want for this particular program or this particular song. So at this point, you're free, because you've duplicated them, you're free to do whatever you want with those songs in their current standing. So for the Miami Grand, let's just say I really don't want a Royal Grand, I want more of an upright Grand. Fine, just change right here to your upright. That's the Velvet, the Grand Imperial. There's a Studio Grand, that'll work. Or let's see, here, let's just go to Amber Upright. You say, okay, this song really needs more of an Amber Upright sound. At this point, just push the Store button and store again. And now you've got your upright programmed for that song for your set list. Now, if you are not able to do that, make sure you click on the System, hold the Shift button and click System, and make sure that your Memory Protect is off. If your Memory Protect is on, you won't be able to save programs like that. Okay, so just make sure you do that. So again, I'll hold the Shift button, hold the System button, and so you're always using the Shift button or not using the Shift button in conjunction with this knob once you're in the system settings. Okay, and then you hold it, push it again to get out of that. All right, so let's take another example. Let's say, okay, I've got my piano for that song, but Mark, you mentioned that there's a string part. Well, what if I don't want it to be soft strings? What if I want it to be another type of string sound? No problem, just tweak it here. For example, let's just say I don't want the soft strings legato. I actually want the full strings legato. And not only do I want the full strings legato, I want a little bit more attack, and maybe, we'll put a split between the decay and the release right here. Now, just save it like this, save it, and now you've got a song program specific to that song, just for that song. Now, let's just say, well, I really like those strings. I want to use that same string that I just saved on another song, or I want to use it throughout all my songs. That's fine. Just make your program and then duplicate it like you saw in the previous part of the video and use it however you want, because at the end of the day, these are all just programs. The way you organize them is up to you. You're sort of pseudo-organizing them in a set list, but at the end of the day, they are all programs, each unto their own, each with separate storage capabilities. All right. I think that concludes this. Feel free to make some comments. I'm sure you will on this one. Everyone's got an opinion on how this best should be done. If you've got better ideas, I'm certainly open to it. Thanks for joining me on this video. Hopefully you enjoyed that lesson. If you like what you see here and you want more of it, especially the Nord Electro 6 training, Stage 3 training, Nord Electro 5 training, and other synth training as things become available, feel free to subscribe to the channel, and there's a lot more to come. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you on the next one.